Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Human series hosted by Holly Haggard. Unfortunately, Holly couldn't make it today, and so rather than running a replay, I decided to fill in for. I hope that I can do a decent job. It's been a while since I've hosted a show. I've been co-hosting now for about 8 months with several different shows, but I have not been the one pulling the trigger on everything. Before I get started, I want to just let everybody know we've got a show coming up tomorrow with Brian Poduska called Real Talk with Brian Poduska. He's got a guest coming on. The topic's going to be betting on yourself, and the lady that's going to be on the show is Michelle. His guest is Michelle Burleson, and they're going to talk about betting on yourself. If you've never listened to Brian's show, it's at 1:00 on Thursdays. I encourage you and invite you to tune in and watch that. He has some incredible guests, great topics, and so that'll be coming up tomorrow. Want to thank all of the sponsors. We'll be running some lower scrolls for them, but we have several sponsors that we really appreciate their support of making the difference in all of our shows possible. So without going any further, we've got a packed show today. You got 3 guests, all people that fit right into what we're doing, the Good Human series. And so I'm going to start introducing now some really good humans that are making the difference. The first one that I'm going to bring on is Bill Yuhasz, Bill, and then I'm going to bring on Julie, and then right behind her, last but not least, we're going to bring on Shannon Cagle. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Good Human series with Holly Haggard, even though she's not here today. Glad you guys could fill in.
Glad to be here.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Bill, tell everybody a little bit about yourself really quick. We've got just a few minutes to go through introductions, but tell everybody who you are and who you're with.
My name is Bill Yuhasz. I'm the founder of Known Legacy Ministries, which we are based out of Allen, Texas. And we've been around for about a little over 5 years at this point.
Okay. And Julie, you and Tom, tell a little bit about who you are and what y'all have going on with the Pray Dallas program.
Good.
So Pray Dallas was started back in the summer, all to eradicate COVID-19, but it's moved much farther along than that now with a bigger mission and a bigger vision from God. And we're going to talk more about that today and get into that in just a little bit.
All right. And next we're going to have up Shannon Cagle. Shannon's the CEO of Creek and Timber Legacy. Shannon, tell everybody who you are and more than what I just did.
Good afternoon. I'm Shannon Cagle with Creek and Timber Legacy, and founder and CEO, along with Dustin Paine and Justin Clark. So our organization's been out for, we started last year in December. So we've got 1 year under our belt and looking at moving forward in 2021.
All right. Good deal. Real quick, I'm going to bring in Brian Poduska. Brian, I just gave a little heads up on your show, but go ahead and tell everybody real quick about Real Talk with Brian and about your guests tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me jump in. Yeah, so my show is called Real Talk with Brian Poduska, and we do talk real estate, which is the business that I'm in. I own a property management company. I'm a realtor as well, but we talk about a lot more than just real estate on our show. This week we have Michelle Burleson, who has a history much like my own, where she was in corporate America for quite a while and decided to go out and start her own business. She has a couple different businesses, so we'll be diving into that on the show tomorrow. But once again, just thanks guys for letting me jump in and say hello. And yeah, that's us.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Brian. Looking forward to your show tomorrow. All right.
Absolutely. Likewise. Take care, guys.
See you, Brian.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with you, Bill. And what I want to know, I want you to share with everybody watching today a little bit about what your organization is and what the mission is for what it is that you do?
Known Legacy's goal, again, it's Known Legacy Ministries. Our goal is to develop families and individuals towards a Christ-centered legacy. We just saw so many bored or disenchanted Christians who kind of just looked at their life and said, man, is this all there is? Is it just to show up to church and get a good job and make some money and create kids who get a good job and make money? That's really, it's so much more. John 10:10 talks about the abundant life that God has for us. And so our goal, me and my wife, when we decided to start this a few years ago, we both came from broken homes as kids. We both came from situations that were semi-dire, to say the least. And we decided we wanted to do something different with our lives than what we saw previously. And that's no demise against our families. It's just, we believe that God had more for us. And so when we started doing that, we noticed that there were others who had that same thought in their mind. They just didn't know how to. And we realized in that moment that fear was a constant, and either we're going to live in it or we're going to learn to walk through it. And God called us to help people walk through their fears. We really believe Known Legacy's goal is to crack the shell of the heart of people to say, I can do more. I'm made for more. I'm made to become more. And that's all with the center of God being at the very center of that. It's his story, but we can play a huge part in that story. And that's kind of what we've been doing the last few years through many different avenues, whether it's parenting conferences, marriage conferences. We do these Known Legacy date nights where it's kind of a cheap way to spend time as a family, but then ask the question, hey, are you becoming who God's created you to become? That's the goal.
Okay. So share one of your impactful stories that you have that where you've really been able to see what you're doing, see your mission at work.
Yeah, it's been great. We've been literally all over the world, and it's been a lot of fun. But one of my favorite stories was a guy that I met in Midland, Texas. He was working in the oil field, and we just had a conversation and asked the question through a series of moments and over many cups of coffee. I would say I'm a huge coffee drinker, so over a lot of those addictive drinks. I just asked him the question, what's your dream, or what do you dream about? And he said, Bill, he goes, no one's ever asked me that question in my whole life. And that blew me away. And so the idea that we could challenge him to do that, but at the same time, with the core of knowing Jesus Christ and saying, what is God calling you to do? So it's not just the live your dream. And, it's not like a fuzzy cat picture, like go and pursue, but really, what is God calling you to do? And so in the midst of that, through many other conversations, he ended up leaving the oil field and pursuing a career to actually become a police officer now. And so now he actually serves in the DFW area as a SWAT officer. And it's so neat because his whole journey has been, it's been hard. Obviously, you leave the oil field, you move your family. But what it's caused him to do is it's caused him to put all of his hope in Christ and say, God, you've called me to do this. So he's continued to just pursue that. So it's only strengthened his faith. It's strengthened his family together. It's caused his kids to say, we're made for more, and to begin to dream even bigger, with the idea that at the end of it, when someone goes, wow, that's amazing what you just did with your life. And he could say, listen, it's all God. God did all of this, and God gets the glory for it. And that's really the heart behind Known Legacy. And that's what the heart of that. And so now here's this amazing man of God who loves his wife. He's faithful to her. He serves his community, and he loves his kids passionately, and he loves his Lord with all of his heart. So it's been cool to see that transformation happen.
That is really cool. That's a great story. Talk to us a little bit about who all is involved, who all helps make this mission possible. Your volunteers, sponsors, donors, contributors, whoever, whatever it may be, whoever you want to give a shout out to, or big thank you to, whatever it may be.
When you say that, I immediately picture a bobblehead, like I'm the one up there just bouncing around. I'm not doing much. And all these amazing supporters behind me, an amazing crew of volunteers, teams that when we do a parenting conference or a marriage conference or a date night, it takes a team of people, whether it's preparing the food, whether it's, dealing with all the logistics of signing people up and getting people involved, as well as, first and foremost, honestly, it's my wife. The secret to my life was I just married far out of my league, and I don't deserve her in a moment's notice. And she has been, my wife, Sarah, has been the other half of this and more of the brain than I have, to say, man, we can do more. And so she's been a huge co-owner of this, or co-founder of Known Legacy, as well as one of my buddies, Travis, who's actually the co-host to our podcast that we put out weekly. He's just a lot of fun to be around, a huge encouragement. And there's a huge team that when we have an event or we have an opportunity to go and reach people, they just show up. These amazing volunteers from a few different churches that come and help out and make it happen, as well as church pastors who've just supported us in our time to go and host all those events, as well as going out to different men's conferences, families conferences, things like that. All those people have made this actually happen. The biggest thing, even with that, is just all those sponsors who've been willing to say, hey, I'm gonna give, I'm gonna pray for you. Those two have been the biggest encouragement. The phone calls of prayers, and as well as those who have said, hey, we actually believe in you and we want to support your ministry, because part of this comes down to when someone's disenchanted in the church, they don't want to spend any money to come to a church thing. And so we're like, hey, we're doing this event and we're going to share this, and we get to crack those shells. And it takes money sometimes to do that. And so we're able to bring in high quality entertainment with a lot of impact, and spend a very little bit of time, 2 hours maybe, to really let people laugh, hear some stories, get impacted, and walk away with some tangible truths to change their actual legacy from this point on for Jesus. So that's kind of a lot of what we do, is making this happen, as well as.
That's awesome. No. What's some of the biggest challenges you faced since you started this? A lot of times I'm looking at a whole list of amazing dreamers on here who had a plan and a goal, and sometimes it can be lonely as you're trying to pursue and dream and those things. But I think the biggest thing is when it comes to roadblocks or issues, it's really trying to connect with other churches who see the vision and want to listen long enough when there's, especially in a year like this, just like COVID, everyone's locked up and closed in. And so when they have a moment, they want to use it for their body to do. And so we try to just say, how do we come along and support those? So, support your church. I don't have an agenda to come in and go, here's the plan, here's the 10 steps to make it happen. I just want your men and your women to come alive. And we want to be the resource to let that happen and come alongside. And I think that's sometimes the biggest thing is getting into the on the forefront of these churches to share that kind of message with them. Okay. What about folks out there that are listening to this and want to know how to get involved or how to support it? What is it that you guys need, look for, and how? And I know we have a lot of your contact information scrolling at the bottom, so people can connect with you that way. But talk a little bit about what you guys need and how people can help.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. The first thing, follow us on social media. Honestly, we're on there more than we are on our website, but we are on there too. Follow us on the podcast. You can look us up on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. There's a bunch of different ones. Google Play, all those. Just look up Known Legacy, and you can follow us on there. We've got, I think we're hitting around our 140th episode, and so we've been on for a few seasons. It's been a lot of fun. If they want to connect with us and hear more about the details of the ministry, I'd be more than happy to take them out for a cup of coffee. So email us at info@knownlegacy.org, and I'd love to share more about that. And then finally, you can donate and give to us. We are a tax deductible entity that you can give to and allow to have that tax write off as well. And you can check that stuff out on our website, as well as, if not, just contacting me, info@knownlegacy.org. Because of the fact that all these events happen, they take a lot of money to make happen, to be done well. And so we're always looking for people who want to share in that and be a part of impacting the lives of families all around the DFW area, if not around the nation. So. Okay.
What about future plans, goals? What do you got coming up? What is it? What does somebody need to know about?
Yeah, right now we are lightly preparing based on what happens in the next couple of months. We are preparing another date night. We did one in June, so we kind of right in the middle of all this, as everything kind of opened up for a little bit. We did a date night, and it was a great time. You can check out that video on our website page. And but yeah, we're planning to do more of those. We also are continuing to do more. We do a lot of free printables for families. We know that sometimes it's just asking questions to your family. We know the dinner table is one of the most important places for families to actually engage. And so we've created a bunch of free printables. Even right now, we have an advent calendar that's on our Instagram page that you can click up and just download for free to engage your family. And amidst the different events that we're doing, we also travel a lot. We try to travel to different churches. We're always looking for more opportunities and places to share there. Again, 2020 has been a really weird year, but it's also been a real great year for opportunity for families to say, we need to get some things figured out and begin to help them dream. And so that's kind of what we've been doing is we're still pressing forward with those date nights, the possibility of another Known Legacy family conference, and as well as just sharing this wherever we can go. So we're going to continue the podcast, continue doing all those printables, and continue to make an impact on social media and creating those conversations over a cup of coffee as long as we can.
Awesome. Well, I've got your, I guess you can see that, but I've got your website popped up on the screen now. So you can see down there if you're watching where to go and check out the podcast. You can click that link. You can also click upcoming events, find out a little bit more. Tell me a little bit before we move on to our next guest, Shannon. Tell me a little bit about something that maybe I haven't asked you and that people need to know about Known Legacy, and just share something with us that maybe we didn't touch on that you feel is important.
What I see, like I said, I talked about a lot of guys who are bored in their life. My core belief comes that God is the center of my life and His word is true. It's the utmost authority. Because of that, I look at the value of the family. And if I look at the church right now, the DNA of the church is the family. And I believe the DNA of the family is a husband whose heart is set on the Lord, who, if there's a husband whose heart is set on the Lord and wants to lead his family with that kind of honor and glory, to give to the Father, if we can help those dads come alive, it affects the family, it affects the kids, it affects the church. And therefore, we do have a revival. I really do believe that's where that kind of revival will happen. It's men and women coming alive. And so the challenge, I guess, for me is just to say, man, our hope is that the guys that I've talked to who are struggling with sin over and over again, and they don't see any greater adventure. And the biggest thing is that God is the greatest adventure. And John 10 talks about that there's this abundant life, this great adventure that God has for everybody. We just don't plug into it. And that's our hope, is that guys and gals would plug in, and it would affect them. It would affect their family, and it would affect their great grandchildren, because everything we do now will affect all those who come behind us. And that's our goal.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want you to stick around with us. We're gonna move on now to Shannon, and then I think this is going to tie in greatly with Julie and Tom and what they're gonna say. I mean, I'm really excited to be able to do this show. I've been fortunate enough to produce and co-host with Holly over I guess the past 8 months, and I've met some fantastic people. Just for people that may not know the Good Human series show, Holly brings, that's what she focuses on. She focuses on people that are making an impact in their communities, in their careers, in their industries, whatever it may be. And one of her top focuses has been over the last 8 months is human trafficking. And she has had some incredible people that are involved in the rescue and rehabilitation, and really helping people get back on their feet. So what a great show that she's put together. And so we're going to move in now to Shannon Cagle, a good friend of mine, got involved and helped create this organization. Shannon, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about who you are again. Introduce yourself again, let people know, but then also let's talk a little bit about Creek and Timber.
Sure. Thank you for having me here today. But yes, Shannon Cagle, CEO and one of the founders of Creek and Timber Legacy, along with my co-founders, Dustin Paine and Justin Clark.
I lost your audio, Shannon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay.
Good. So
yeah. Go ahead. You were talking about Justin Clark, and that was the last thing I heard. So,
got you. So we started the organization last year, looking for a way to give back and to do something in the outdoors. We're all avid hunters and fishermen, and wanted to do that. So we started the organization in order to give back to wounded veterans, first responders, and critically diagnosed kids, in order to give them an opportunity to, be in the outdoors, whether it was a hunting trip, a fishing trip, or even just, camping or hiking, depending on, what it was that they wanted to do.
So talk to me a little bit about who all do you serve? I know you talked about the kids. I know you talked about the first responders. It's really kind of expanded, hadn't it? When you first started, it was about our veterans, and you guys have really been able to expand that and really reach out and help more people. Am I right about that?
Yes, yeah. There are so many veterans out there, and that was probably the quickest thing that we, was, people we were able to reach out to and, to do this with. But then, also the first responders. I mean, there's a lot of firefighters, police officers and stuff that have been, wounded and, different things, whether it was, being shot, or we had one motorcycle police officer from, here in McKinney. A lady hit him with her car 3 years ago and broke both of his legs and his collarbone and stuff. And, took him a long time to rehab that. And then he was on the force another 3 or 4 years before retiring. And so he was one we were able to. And then also, the critically diagnosed kids. I mean, they're, a big factor that, they still want to be outdoors. They want to go do things. And so, we're trying to work with Cook's Children's and some other different organizations in order to, reach out and, fulfill that void, for them as well.
Yeah. And you had mentioned, I think earlier before we started the show, there was an organization that stopped doing that for the children, right? And so you guys are trying to pick that back up.
Yeah, on the hunting side, right? So we're trying to give them another source out there, to be able to fulfill those those wishes on that the kids want to go do that.
Okay. So a lot of these people, and when, just so people understand, is when they have these injuries, when they come back from a war and maybe they've lost some limbs, your typical hunting, outdoor adventure type things are not really set up to make this very comfortable and actually be able to allow them access to some of these things. And so that's kind of one of y'all's challenges, right? That's some of the things that you're putting together. I know that you had that one film with the elk hunt, and
Right.
This was a guy, and I want you to talk about that a little bit. But I mean, he was really limited on what he was able to do, his mobility and things like that. And even though the side by side y'all were in was set up somewhat for it, there's still some things that y'all are wanting to do to make these things more opportunistic for those people that have those challenges. Am I right?
Yes, yeah. Our long-term goal is to design a ranch that is for this. So building a lodge that's all ADA compliant and wheelchair accessible, as well as the vehicles, the blinds that we hunt out of. We've talked to a couple of different manufacturers on the ATVs that have come up with some different things that we can do to modify some of those. The same thing with the blinds as well. We've talked to two manufacturers, one here and one out of Alabama, that's willing to work with us, try to make changes, try to just increase the amount of accessibility for them in the outdoors, and then make sure it's a place that's safe as well to go. And then also even, they don't have to be, physically limited. We're working with people that, are, suffering from, what's the disorder? I can't think of it.
PTSD.
PTSD. Thank you. And that doesn't necessarily be military. We've talked to several people, in, different, FBI, SWAT forces and stuff that have suffered from that. So, we're trying to find, ways to, work with them and, meet their needs and stuff as well. So that's something that's, ongoing, and we've had some pretty big input on that from, several different agencies out there to help us with that.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit and share your story with the viewers and also Julie, Tom, and Bill. Talk to us a little bit about what, and I know you guys have just recently started this. It's been about a year, but give me one of your best stories of something that's gone on, or how things have gone, and really the impact that it's made for the person that you were helping. And then I know, talking to you, Shannon, it's really impacted you as well, being able to see these people get to participate in things that they may have thought that they had lost for good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. Like you said, like we just started doing all of our events. Just the first one was in September of this year that we were able to do. And then we had a big one during, 9/11, where we had 10 actually Purple Heart recipients that, came and went on a dove hunt. But probably the biggest one that, like you've mentioned, we had, one military guy that he's actually paralyzed from his chest down, and we were able to take him out originally on a deer hunt, and that was really difficult. We spent 2 days trying to, get him to, get a good clear shot on a deer, an axis deer, and that wasn't working out. So the guide decided to change up what we were going to do, and then we were cutting across a pasture into another one and saw these 2 big elk laying down underneath of a tree. And so the guy gets on his phone and starts texting. Well, we didn't know that he was texting the owner of the ranch and the manager saying, hey, what's your permission so we could shoot one of these elk? And, the graciousness of the ranch owner and the manager, they're like, yeah, go ahead and get him on him. And, so he turned to Colin and said, hey, get that rifle ready. We're going to shoot one of these elk. And he looked at him like he was crazy. And, so, we started across the pasture and, got up there and, was able, I really didn't think he was going to get a shot on it. And then he actually did. And, it was a success. And just to see, his joy, and after being around him for, 3 days, I mean, I could tell, he's a pretty determined person, and there's a lot that he goes through on a daily basis, just being in a wheelchair, and he hasn't let that limited him. And so to see how excited he was, after taking that elk was really gratifying to me, more than it was better than me pulling the trigger myself on it, to see that amount of joy, and and how thankful he was to be able to do it. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, and you guys actually have, because I've seen the video. Y'all have a video up on Facebook, right, of that actual hunt.
Yes.
So anybody that's watching today, if you guys go to Creek and Timber Legacy on Facebook, you guys have a lot of videos on there, but that is one of them. You can actually see this actually happening. It was really, really cool to see that. Shannon, talk to me as I was talking to Bill. Same question. What's some of the challenges that you guys have faced? I know that you kind of came out of the blocks pretty hard. COVID hit. Of course, like everybody else, we all had to adapt. We all had to kind of rewrite our blueprints and our game plans. Talk to me a little bit and share your story on this with people watching. What's been y'all's biggest challenge so far, and what are you doing to get past that? And let's talk a little bit about what 2021 is going to look like for you.
Right. Well, yeah, a lot of it, I mean, like you said, in the first quarter of this year, we were out, looking at ranches to buy. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic hit and the shutdown happened, and, the economy started going south. And so we had to regroup on that and, refocus on, what we were doing, kind of regrouping and try to find that. But we still wanted to make events happen. And, so a lot of it was, getting donors to go out and, make these events happen. And then, volunteers, and we've, continued to do that. So I think, being able to find the accessibility has been, part of it. It had gotten better. I don't know what's going to happen with these, new guidelines that are coming down here, in the last couple of days, to see what's going to happen with that. But I think it's really, just trying to change everything and trying to overcome, the financial side of it more than anything.
So let's move then into the next thing. Obviously, every organization needs money, and so let's talk about how people can help the Creek and Timber Legacy mission and movement. What are you guys looking for? I know that you're looking for ranches, you're looking for property, you're looking for any contributions, but how can people get involved and help you guys out?
Right. Well, so, like you said, we've got a Facebook page, that we put a lot through, but also we've got a newsletter on our website that we're using. We're sending a lot of communication out to people through that newsletter as well. But then also, just spreading the word, like Bill was saying, getting people to go out there and, talk about the organization, help us, share it with others. They might know somebody that would be interested in, doing, this and being a recipient. They might know somebody that wants to help with it. There's been a lot of different things that have come into play there. And then, we've got, some sponsorships as well. We are also 501c3, so it is a tax deduction on that from the sponsor standpoint. But I think the biggest thing is to getting people signed up on our newsletter so we can get the information out there so that everybody knows, what we're doing.
Okay. On your website, you can see up there on the right side of it, there's this donate volunteer button. So if somebody was wanting to get involved, that's a place that they could go, right? And they could get a little bit more information. They can donate,
Right.
figure out how to volunteer. What kind of volunteers are you guys looking for?
So we've got several different things. I mean, we've got some people that have volunteered. Cody Thompson was one of them that, came and helped cook and, do some guiding with some of the people. We have a golf tournament coming up in the spring. We have a gala that's coming up, I think in May it is. So we need volunteers for, both of those things. And then anybody that wants to help with, like our marketing or trying to help, call our donor list. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we can plug and play people. So, if they just, reach out and say, yes, I'd like to help you guys, we can figure out, what their best use is and, see if they want to help in that, that aspect. We can always, we're not going to turn anybody away from that standpoint.
Sure. So tell me, is there, let's say that I've got, I know somebody that would just be a perfect fit for being included or considered for one of the adventures that you guys have. What's the process with that? How do I bring your attention to that and see if they qualify for it?
Right. We have an application to send out on those, which is also, so if they're interested in that, that's on the website. I think it's on the Facebook page too, but we can get them, an application and get that process going pretty quickly.
Okay. So tell people, other than your website and is there another way to get in touch with you guys, or how can we communicate with you as far as reaching out? Is there another way?
All of our phone numbers and emails are on there. And then Facebook as well, Twitter, Instagram. I think we just got our LinkedIn up, so they can, reach us on any of those.
Okay.
I think our cell phone numbers are on the website. I know they are. So they can call us that way as well, or email, whichever is easiest for sure.
Okay. Last thing before we move on to Julie and Tom, thank them for being patient with me here. Talk about, and you may have just touched on this a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about 2021, what your future goals are. I know that COVID's coming up, or COVID is here, and I say coming up. The reason I said that is because we may be experiencing some more restrictions. How does that impact y'all being outdoors and being on some of these ranches? I mean, obviously, I know that the lodges you're indoors, but have you found that that's been a restriction for you, or is that something y'all are concerned about? And
no, I mean, Not on the local stuff. There was some, like in other states, that were more restrictive because, like, Dustin and I were just up in Kansas, and they had some different restrictions. But here, it's more just following. Everybody's trying to wear a mask, social distancing. We're keeping people apart where they're not in the same room unless it's their immediate family. The same thing with their, the people doing the, cooking. Everybody's got a mask on, so that hasn't. So we have 2 duck hunts right now scheduled for January, and then we have 4 hog hunts in February and March, which we have both set up right now as well. So we should be able to go forward with those. So we'll see what continues to happen from there.
Awesome. Well, Shannon, thanks for being here. I want you to stick around. We're going to move on to Julie and Tom now. Before we do, I want to. His ears must be burning. Cody just commented. Cody Thompson, everybody's friend, Cody. Hello, everyone. You're all awesome. Keep up the good work. I'm proud to be associated with you, Cody. Thanks for tuning in and commenting. We appreciate that. So now we're going to move on to Julie and Tom. I've known Julie now for quite a while. I think that, it was either Brian Dobbs or Cody Thompson that introduced us, Julie, and then obviously you introduced me to your husband. But you guys created Pray Dallas, and I want to talk to you all a little bit about that, about what Pray Dallas is all about. Julie, I know we talked a little bit before the show started that much like what I have done with the difference, Pray Dallas is kind of evolving too, right? You guys are moving into some really exciting opportunities. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk first about how did Pray Dallas get started?
Okay.
Well, Pray Dallas was started in July when my husband had a dream he just felt like the Lord was asking him to eradicate COVID-19, to pray about eradicating COVID-19, to pray against it. So the full testimony is on YouTube, on our Pray Dallas channel on YouTube, and you can see it there. So I don't have to take, the 15 minutes to explain the dream because it's quite a long one. And so he began the journey. We made one phone call thinking this other couple was going to pray with us because that's how strong the Joshua call was on this particular dream. And so we made one phone call to another couple who made another phone call. And before you know it, Pray Dallas was much bigger than we could have ever thought or imagined. So it wound up, and not only did the city of Dallas declare it a Pray Dallas Day on August the 19th, but Fort Worth joined in, and we had a Fort Worth Pray Day, an Arlington Pray Day, Tarrant County, Ellis County, the city of Rockwall, and many others followed suit. And not only that, but other states got on board, and then it wound up going all over the world. So we believe that on August the 19th, we had over 1 million people praying with us.
Yeah, we estimated 1.5
That is incredible.
in 30 days.
That's awesome. Yeah. So talk to me now a little bit about and share with our viewers and listeners what the transition was about, because that started off as kind of a COVID prayer, right? And it's really led you down a bigger pathway. So talk a little bit about that, about where you're going with Pray Dallas now.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about that, sweetheart?
Yeah. Originally, we just thought we were calling for a day of prayer, and it didn't take long into that we realized that God was involving us in a movement. Mm-hmm. And in the process, before we hit that date, Walden, I don't remember his first name, Russ Walden, on Elijah List, made a prophetic word that he said through a series of events, miraculous proportion, including politics, through a series of events, that God was going to eradicate this from our nation. And so we knew that we weren't the only thing that was the only one involved in this. And of course, we know that they had the deal in DC where they did the renewal, or what they call it, the awakening, and a lot of other groups and a lot of other people have been involved. And in the process, God said something to me one morning in prayer. He said, the nation has repented with their mouth, but their eyes are dry.
Wow.
And not fully understanding that statement, it almost brought me to tears.
Right.
And God took me to Elijah in the field of dry bones. And he said, in that field, first of all, the bones came together. And then they put the organs and the sinew and the flesh onto it and the heart. And then finally, God breathed into them. And so we're so excited about everything we see happening. But God said, I want to eradicate this thing. This is still what we're all about. But he said, I have things I need you to do that I want before you can get what you want. And the sex trafficking that you talked about, a big thing, the abortion, a huge thing, the social injustices that are going on. God wants us to become involved to take care of these things as well. And not just to look at it and go, hey, my bad, we shouldn't have done this. But he wants us to see what he sees. He wants us to have a heart like he has. He wants us to feel what he feels. And when we do that, our eyes will not be dry. When we see what we have allowed as a nation, what we permitted as a church, as the Ecclesia church, when we see this, God, David filled his bed with tears. He dissolved his couch with his tears because it went from a head knowledge to a heart knowledge of what we were doing, how we were affecting the lives of millions of others, how we were destroying the innocent. And this has become our cry to the churches is to, when we see all this going on, we hear the rattling, we see all these prayer groups coming up and we see all these people standing up against injustice. And God said, that's just the rattling of the bones. But he said, I want to flesh it out. Because till we have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart after him, our eyes will remain dry. And until we can take this to the depth of repentance that he wants. When we do this, when we make these changes and we come into agreement with God, then God is going to be able to heal our land. So it's still about COVID-19. God still wants to eradicate it. But he said, look, I have things on my heart too. Will you join with me?
So Tom, how did we get here? How did we get to this point where we are in the world? I mean, COVID, a lot of people could say that that's man-made, not man-made, man-created, whatever. But a lot of the other things you're talking about, the corruption in our government, the corruption, the things that you guys are praying for, how did we get here? What have we done wrong that allowed us to get to this place that we're in trouble?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. The church has failed. We have failed to engage in the government, the 7 pillars, in the media, in education, in finances. We have failed to do it. We thought we would separate ourselves and God would take care of us. But God handed the earth to us to take care of. And we've not done it. And we now are beginning to see the ramifications of that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, look how long we've let Roe versus Wade stand. And how many innocent lives have been lost. It's one thing if a person is a prostitute and God is not happy and he's sad that they're doing what they're doing. And it's sad when an adult kills another adult. But when it affects the innocent, God is displeased. And we have got to become the voice for those that do not have one. And we have got to stand up against this. And until we have repented with our hearts, not just our heads, we want to just quickly go, okay, my bad, let's go on. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to have to be from the heart. And when our heart lines up with God's heart, we will have tears. And tears will be the monetary thing that shifts the heavens to see what we want to happen.
We're going to be willing, all of us, to make some sacrifices too. I know you talked about the praying part, coming from the mouth, but I mean, we've got to take some action. And I think that Christians have sat back far too long and allowed our government. I mean, you mentioned something, Tom, and it just hit me about Roe versus Wade and about it, prostitution being sad and murder being sad. It is sad. God is sad about that. But when a culture creates laws to allow for that type of behavior, that goes beyond sad. That's borderline evil. And we have sat back and silently allowed the people that had the power to implement those evil laws. I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't want to get off track, but there is an elected official. I just saw this today in Fort Worth that's talking about taking the castle doctrine, right? And that, if the person in the home didn't have a gun, then the only reason the intruder brings a gun is just to protect themselves, and that the person in the home. I'm like, what kind of thinking is that? Where did we go wrong? And how do we get back? I know prayer is going to be a part of it. It's got to be a big part of it. But
yes, absolutely.
How do we take more action than just the prayer? The thing that you were talking about.
You have to get involved. We have to be involved. We have to show up at the polling places. We have to know what's being voted on, what's being discussed. Heck, Christians ought to be running for offices and boards and all kinds of things. So we, like you said, have been silent for too long, and we've sat back and thought, like Thomas said, God is just going to take care of us, but we haven't taken an active role. We're here for a purpose and a reason. God's people know that, and they understand it, that, you were born for such a time as this.
Absolutely.
And we are in one of the most pivotal moments in history right now that we're walking through. I mean, our grandkids are going to be studying about this, and our great-grandchildren are going to be studying about the times that we're walking through right now. I don't think we've done enough. I don't think we've participated enough. Prayer hasn't been enough. And even then, I don't think our prayers have been fervent enough.
I think we're praying in silence. I know a lot of people that pray. I think they pray in silence. I think that the Christians have lost their courage. And I think we've got to find our courage. And I don't want my grandson to look up one day and go, my grandfather didn't have the courage to fight, so that I have to go through what I'm going through right now. And I think we've got to change the way we're looking at what's going on, because the evil side has the courage. They're not ashamed. They're not ashamed to fight for what they're wanting to fight for. And I think that Christians have hidden for far too long. And if we think that, if you hid when things weren't bad, wait till it gets bad. So, we've got to, that's why I wanted to bring y'all on. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you having the courage to have the voice to create the Pray Dallas, because courage breeds courage. Mm-hmm. And when we see people, like-minded people that are willing to stand up in our world, where sometimes you can be ostracized, it gives an inspiration. It inspires others to do the same. And so I really want to thank you guys for doing that and taking that step.
Yeah, there was who was the gentleman that talked about the curse being lifted?
Kevin
Zadai, a prophet. And people don't want to listen to prophets, but God said, I'm not going to do anything until I tell the prophets. You know why? Because when it happens, he wants us to know that he did it. Mm-hmm. And if you just start through the media now, not the mainline media, but you start through Facebook and YouTube, and you start getting into these, you'll see what people are declaring. And when we see a shift come, there's a miraculous shift coming in a political realm that everyone is going to know that it was God. And it's going to take place, and it is going to be the segue to Roe versus Wade. And Sadai said within 24 hours after Roe versus Wade is overturned, we will see a curse lifted off of this nation. Mm-hmm. And when these things begin to happen, people are not, you got a group of churchgoers, but you have a remnant. That remnant is going to stand and see the salvation of the Lord. They're going to know that this is God, and people are not going to be able to say it was a happenstance, it was a fluke, it was just a mishap that this happened. They're going to know, and they're going to have to obviously turn away from God or accept that God has a call on this nation and a purpose for this nation. And I'm standing with the prophets. I'm believing that God is going to do what he said so that no man will be able to take credit for it. No legal team will be able to take credit for it. No one will be able to say this was just an accident. This was a fluke that this worked out this way. God said it, he declared it, and man is going to know.
Right.
God is still God.
Absolutely. Well, we don't have much time left. I want to I want to give you guys a chance to real quickly tell us what the future is for Pray Dallas, as far as what your plans are, what you're going to do. Your contact information is, I'll have that scrolling at the bottom. But Julie, Tom, if you would just share a little bit, real briefly, because I want to take about 5 minutes and open it up for Bill and Shannon and Julie. If y'all have any things y'all want to talk about or ask any questions to each other, I want to be able to do that as well. But talk a little bit real quick about the future of Pray Dallas.
You know, what God tells us is what we're going to do. That's it. People go, what's next? When God tells me, you'll know it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Well, there you go.
We're in.
Well, that's awesome.
We're definitely willing vessels. That's what we can say.
Well, and like I said before, I really, I appreciate you guys' boldness. I appreciate your courage. And I appreciate all of you for being on today. So before we close out, we've got a few minutes left. Bill, do you have any questions for Julie and Tom? Tom, do you have any, Tom and Julie, you have any questions for anybody? Shannon, who wants to go first?
Well, I'll just say I've been super encouraged because I feel like I share the sentiment with both you guys that, man, we have such a hopeless world, and we hold the only hope, and for some reason people have forgotten that. And so it's just grateful to be around a bunch of other warriors who just see that God is bigger. That David just needed 5 stones, and he didn't even need 5; he just needed 1. And man, we're knocking down giants. I see you guys are giant slayers on here, and I think it's amazing. I'm blessed to be on here with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm thrilled that both of you have the term legacy in the ministry that you have.
Yeah.
Because when we have a mindset of a legacy, we're going to respond a lot different today.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to happen. And so thank God that legacy is part of the mainstream thing that you're wanting to do, because it changed.
Well, that was one thing that we talked about when we were putting our organization together, is we wanted to be able to leave it for somebody else to take on after us, not die with us, but keep going and keep going forward. And so that was the whole, that was the biggest purpose probably of it when we started doing it. So yeah, that's
excellent.
That's true.
Great.
Well, I want to thank you all for being on today. I want to thank Holly for allowing me to fill in for her. I hope I did a decent job. I know I brought some outstanding people on that tied right into the good humans. I mean, having a legacy, having the realization that we can be a part of something that's much, much bigger than us. And it's not just about what we do in life, but how we do it. And I really wanted, because I've known you all, other than you, Bill, got to meet you today, and obviously you fit right in with the rest of them. But I wanted this audience of Hollies, this Good Human series audience that tunes in each and every week to hear these stories about people that put themselves at risk. They do have courage, and they're bold, and they're on a mission to accomplish something, to make their communities and the world a better place. I knew you guys would fit in. I knew that it would be a great addition to what we're doing here on Holly's show, the Good Human series. And so I want to thank you all for being here today. We're going to end a little early today, but that's okay. Julie, Tom, God bless you. Keep up the fight. Bill, it's been a pleasure. We got to talk some more. Really encouraged by what you're doing. And any friend of Cody's is a friend of mine. And so, and then Shannon, as always, buddy, you and Dustin and all the people that are involved in Creek and Timber, a lot of good friends of mine. y'all keep doing what you're doing, because it is making an impact, and it is making the difference. I will tie that in there. That's why I called it that. I wish people could understand the joy I have of where God led me a year ago to create. I didn't create the difference. This thing kind of happened. I've just been a part of it, but I've got to talk to so many people over the past 14, 15 months that are making the difference. They really are. That are doing things beyond what their goals, their careers would have led them. And they're accepting the challenges. I mean, to me, Julie, you and Tom are the epitome of that. You guys are speaking out in a world right now where it's not always popular to do and speak the way that you're speaking. And so again, God bless you for that. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. You can see the Good Human series with Holly Haggard each Wednesday at 3 p.m. And thank you for being here today, guys. Thanks for being on again, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Lyndon.
The Difference is a proud supporter of the following nonprofits. Creek and Timber Legacy, providing outdoor learning, hunting, and firearm therapy for veterans, first responders, and children with serious illness. You can find more info at creekandtimberlegacy.org. And Sharp Shoes. Through local schools and shelters, Sharp Shoes helps provide new shoes for countless needy people and their families. You can find more info